So I was at my local game store opening up some packs for Final Fantasy when I saw this at my local game store, the Gamegenic Castle. And I just wanted to do a quick video about it since I got it. I've taken it out once already, and I think it's pretty cool. And I want to talk about some positives, some negatives, and what I would do to, enjoy this more, and what I'm probably going to do with it going forward in the future. But let's get started with the simple thing. Up in the front, you'll see it has the ability to store different deck boxes. So I have a friend of mine who uses like a toolbox to do this. I think it's a Stanley one, and you can see this holds up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 different things. Now, when this is empty, it's pretty easy to know how to put them back. It's simple, slot back in and go. I might look for deck boxes that fit in here aside from these little cases, because I just prefer to have something maybe I can pull out and then open up. Though there is something nice about this, I do also want to have some sort of way to maybe display. They have this clear front, and to me it'd be really cool to show my cards. Though it is frosted, I think it would show through a little bit well and be pretty neat, considering I also only opened up in this orientation. So I might try to see if there's a top loader or some sort of slab that I can put on top of this. And if not, I might even 3D print some sort of latch-on thing, but I do fear that it can't be tall because this holds it very, very snug. If I were to place a card on top, just for reference, it would not be large enough, but it would kind of show through. You can see glunch there, which is neat. And maybe that's just what I'll do, in fairness. So I've not tried that. Maybe I'll give that a run here in the office and see if that will hold up. As far as like maximum card depth, these are just the normal, if you go to your LGS, probably the Dragon Shields, the mats or non-mats that they have. One thing I do that's a little different here is, I know at minimum it can hold about 120 cards and still have room. As you can see here, this is wiggling, but this is a 2 just standard decks, no sideboard, but just something I want to have in here. I pretty much have a frog deck I like, and then that. Well, meanwhile, this is another set with proxy ones. So these are printed piece of paper sat on top of a normal card, and this is a little bit tighter. There's less wiggle room in here, but each card is, kind of like a card and then a little bit more. Meanwhile, I have one with tokens in here, so this would be 100 cards with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 tokens about that are unsleeved. So I bet you your width you're looking at is about, like, as far as sleeved cards go, probably about maybe like 135. I can actually test that out here and get you an actual number. So what we'll do here is take my little enchanter or my Izzet deck here. We will take out some of the cards of these same Dragon Shields, and we will just start slotting them in until we find a problem. So we'll start in groups of 5. I'm doing 10 more just because it already feels like we're going to have more room. We're at 25. And yeah, 130, about 30 I would say. 130 cards, I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'd be damaging the cards by continuing to press, but unless you want them really, really tight, because getting them out already for just these ones is a little annoying. So 130 for the Dragon Sleeve, just normal matte cards. And I'll slap these back in the box. We'll talk about the other side. And those go back in the deck box with all of them. All right, so now I have the cards on top. We'll see if those stay steady as we go through the rest of this little testing here. So, closed up. Looks like if I shake these that they will probably fall out of their initial spot. Looks like Lunch already has actually. So, well, there's that answer. So if you're going to try to show the deck that you're running, probably don't do it on this deck box or without some sort of special way to keep it on top. If anything, maybe I'll get some little magnets, put them on the inside of that so I can kind of like stick a card to it, or maybe just stick a sleeve in there and then I have an extra copy of the card that I want to be on top. That might be the way. Forgot to put one more down. So now let's talk about the cool thing that has a second side. So let's say you want to pull out a deck and play. You go ahead and grab your deck you'd like to use. Boom, we'll say this one. Nice and simple. Warning, these do slide back and forth if you were to close it empty, so you want to make sure you keep them. On this side, it's pretty easy to keep everything organized, but on the other side, it is a lot more tiny little spots. But we have all sorts of little trays that we can keep things in. For me right now, I keep a tray of just cards I want to trade in. I like having them there just because for me, having trade-in cards is available to me when I'm at the game store, prevents me from spending money. I actually bought this entire case on trades alone. I just took 3 cards I pulled from Final Fantasy that I didn't want. I'm not a big Final Fantasy fan. I just like the art. I played 14. That's really all I know. So I went through and just traded in some cards from that and ended up getting all this for free. I keep a couple spin down counters on top to keep it weighted, kind of stealing that from Card Kingdom and how they pack their things with the packing peanuts on top to keep them from shaking around. It fits a full Chessex thing of normal dice in one of these, which is pretty nice, except when you need to get one of them, you kind of got to get it started by pulling one out. And then it's nice and easy to pull the rest out, but when they're in there nice and organized, You know, I can't really get my fingers in to grab one too simply. Yeah, just not going to work. So usually I'll just tap one out, and once they're at the table, I'll set this down for everyone to use. It's super simple. I really like the sizing of this, and I'm trying to find out like what perfectly fits in each one, because for me, I think the fun part of this side will be making it very aesthetic. Otherwise, I would love to just buy like a la carte. If they had like these things on display where I could just buy, I would buy mostly card-sized ones, because that'd be more useful to me. Or if there's possibly a way to come up with a way to fit maybe my mat in here. I watched the professor's video and he talked about that. You could pull all these out and fit your game mat in there. I do wish there was some sort of game mat holder. That is a pretty big downside for me, because I bring a backpack and I switch this out for my backpack, so I don't have like 18 boulders and a backpack with a playmat shoved in. And now it's like I still kind of need the backpack if I want to easily carry the playmat without doing a huge tube. Because sometimes we go to a bar, we just want to play a few rounds, have a few drinks, and it'd be nice to have an easy way to slip them away. But as far as actual holders, you have, let's call these the minis. The minis can maybe hold 6 dice. Nope, it gets a little too big for 6 dice. So at that point, it's kind of an awkward size. Maybe it can hold a couple D20s, maybe a couple spin downs, but you know, if you're gonna have that many of them, they'll be jingling and banging around there the whole time. Don't know if that's necessary for you, but you have the option, of course, to throw those in there. I have never taken all of these out. I don't know how hard it would be to rebuild this. I guess if I did it this first time, it'd be pretty simple because I'm looking at it, but I do fear that if I were to take this all apart, that I would have a hard time getting it back. I'm starting to know some patterns. These little, you know, corners pieces are made out of the little minis. Then here in the centers, we have maybe double minis. They're a little bit bigger than double and mini size. I wish they were exactly double that, because then you could guarantee certain sizing. I am curious what they think should fit in each of these and maybe what the ideal layout is, because otherwise I would have just gone with all the size, the card sized ones, maybe cards plus top loaders, what you'd call that. And I think that'd be a little bit more helpful to just keep bulk in the back. And that's about the size of 4 of these mini ones, which now it's just getting weirder to weirder. Do they all maybe size up to the full scale? Okay. They seem to all size up to the full scale one, but maybe not across to the smaller ones. So like I would have preferred 3 of these down each side of the full token sized ones, or a little bit larger than token. Preferentially, I would like it to fit it perfectly, so that way I don't have to worry about it. Maybe if I throw a sleeved card in here, we can see, nope, it still has room on the side. So just different options you can have here. I've been throwing the dice in the smallest one. I think making them a tighter fit makes me less annoying walking through the store. So drop some dice back on top of these to keep them rolling around. I don't know, odd. Maybe on their website they'll show and tell you why they included certain sizings, but I would hope that I'd look at a spot and be like, I think I know it fits there. For these, it was clearly tokens and cards. They feel like they fit there. Who knows? As far as weight goes, this is actually generally pretty heavy compared to what I thought it would weigh, but if you've ever moved and you're a big nerd, you know how much D&D books and that nonsense weighs when you go to move. It might actually be the heaviest boxes. You have, you know, your clothes, your kitchen stuff, and those are pretty heavy. But boy, when I move my D&D books, that is a actual chore. Those things weigh a ton if you want to move them in any sort of bulk. So with this, I can get a weight real quick, a little scale, and we can see how much it weighs. Turns out we have a weight for shipping computers in the back. I'm gonna go weigh this real quick and come back with the numbers. PCBros.tech. So after a quick weigh-in, it turns out to be about roughly 9 pounds. I'm gonna go ahead and average it out to 9 pounds because there's still a lot more room for me to use on this. And that's really not that bad, but I would say, like, you know, dumbbells start around 5-10 pounds. If you're looking for an all-day event, if you've just tried to hold out like a beer flask ahead of you straight, it can get pretty heavy. They do have the option right here for a strap. It comes in the box. I have mine out in the car. I'm not going to attach it, but if you would like to put on a strap, it looked pretty high quality, had the little shoulder guard to kind of help maybe comfort it against you if you're wearing it all day. If I were going to a convention, or if I was going anywhere really, I was doing just a backpack stuffed full of heavy RX little play boxes, and those things are like $55 a piece, which I got into them in the beginning because I just love the little window, and for me, half of the joy of a hobby is kind of like the aesthetic and the fun. So like my storage, I try to keep it to be nice little boxes, but that's starting to overflow. So at some point there's a breaking where you decide, do you want aesthetic or do you want function? And for the going out to play with my friends, this was that mix where I was just happy to throw in a little bit of money at the problem, so that way I don't have to carry that backpack everywhere. I do like the backpack, but I kind of end up shoving stuff in there by the end of it. It also enables me to buy boxes while I'm out because I have an easy way to transport them. This is just a rigid, kind of fun way, and honestly, if I hadn't unboxed the cards to just trade in for this directly, I don't know if I would have gotten it. So if you're somebody who opens boxes or packs and you are looking for a new way to maybe move around your commander or your 60 cards, I mean, if you were doing 60 card only, I'm guessing with sideboard, what would we say, 130, so 15 plus your 60, so that'd be 30. You could pretty much move, maybe give or take a few sideboard cards. You could move everything, but if you're willing to risk it, you could always throw some cards along this little side area. You know, they didn't clearly talk about it as being storage space, but there are these spots at the top here that you could slip stuff into. Honestly, we have 3D printers right behind this camera. Maybe something that I measure out with calipers, and we just print our own little box to go in here. I don't know why it doesn't have anything yet. Maybe that's where I can put my trade cards, or I can make something that fits directly a token, or maybe there's just other things to be done with it. Possibly even like a small little dice roller. I just throw it in there and make sure it has a little bump for it, and I just plunk it in there and play like Plinko. Could be interesting. Different things you could do with this. I do like the ruggedness of it. These latches feel really cool. It does alert you at the top, whether you are the card side or the gaming side, but you know, you can also do that with your eyes if you are bright enough. So that being said, the Gamegenic Castle, I would recommend it. I think for 45 bucks, considering a heavy RX play box I was using was 55 or 50 each at my local game store, and then I had to pay 25 to 30 to get the little magnet box on the side. I think those are cool. Nothing against you if you use them. I like them a lot. I just have to get rid of them because if I keep owning them, I like all my stuff to match, and I have to keep paying $55 per. And I've come to find out that I pretty much like building the decks, playing them for a few weeks, and then disassembling them in favor of new decks. So I can just cycle those cards forward instead of, you know, putting Heuristic Studies in one deck and then sitting on top of it for a year. Like I think in this box right here, don't steal it from me, I think I have my Heuristic Studies sitting in this little slot, so that if I'm playing blue, I'm playing with my friends, and I just want to throw in a good card, I can reach right in here. Now, one thing I didn't think about, nice that I can pull this out, but boy, getting a card out from the bottom of this thing with no nails, quite the chore. And none of this is, you know, flagrant things, but when you're looking at that down to minimalistic things, you know, you're looking at the finite details about it for you. I think when it's inhabiting your play space and the time that you spend having joy, people can be big snobs about keyboards or mice or whatever. You can be a snob about the thing that makes your experience better. So don't be bothered by that. But yeah, Heuristic Studies in here and Elspeth, some different little lands and Ugin, some things that I just keep in here because they're kind of expensive and I can sell them when I'm at the game store, but it'd be unsure where I'd want to put them elsewise. Maybe I want to put them in that front spot. Like these are all partner commanders. I just lent them out to a friend so we could decide if he wanted to do a partner. Overall, it's just pretty interesting. So, like I said, I think it's a buy. I think the professor did that video about this specific one. I don't know if it was sponsored or not, but he talks about the Stanley, and he was correct. You can't really find it. I have a couple Home Depots, 3 or 4 just in our city, and I couldn't find one of them that had the Stanley available. Not that I was die hard on getting it, but it seems to be pretty unavailable, while this was available right at my LGS, just sitting at the front store. And I like helping them out. They're a pretty big one, to be honest, so it feels less like your small local company, but the guys there are nice. They always treat you pretty well, and no complaints. So if you're looking for a new way to move around your decks, you got about 6 slots here in the front, and I think that's all you really need for a night. If you somehow get through all 6 in one day, you need to play less Commander and start touching grass. I don't know. It's a pretty great time, but I don't know if it's that good. So thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and take care. Peace.